So I've got Rose Viggiano talking to us today, and we're going to be talking through attachment theory. I found out about attachment theory via my wife several months ago, and
Mm.
it has been something that kind of was a little bit cynical when she first sent it to me. I was like, whatever. This another test, another quiz. But then like any smart husband, I said, you know what? Because she sent it, I'm going to go through it. I'm going to see what happens. And I will tell you that it was revolutionary for our relationship. The revelation that we got was absolutely incredible. And it really helped us connect a lot of dots in our relationship. And of course, we're doing this marriage coaching work. We wanted to share that with our audience. And so that's why I wanted you to come on, Rose, to talk about your work, some of your findings, and how couples can embrace this work, just like I have with my spouse, my partner, and the same way that you have is benefited your life. And so I want you to kind of tell our audience a little bit about who you are, the work that you're involved with, and just let's just go from there. You do an awesome work with dating folks, right? You do singles,
Awesome.
right?
Dating and
Okay.
couples. And by the way, what a great example of secure attachment you just gave. Your
Yeah.
wife sent you something that was important to her that she felt might be important for your relationship. And instead of saying, letting maybe that voice that, what is this? It's another thing. Oh, she's always asking me to do something, maybe something like that get in the way. You said, I want to be a smart husband. I want to show up for this marriage. I want to grow with her. And so I'm going to check this out and we're going to connect over it. Even if you check it out and you decide it's not for you, that's okay. But
Mhm.
because you gave it the time and attention, that's you showing up securely. And that's what I do. That's what I help people with is that I help couples learn how to show up securely together with secure attachment behaviors and principles and to feel secure in themselves and with their partners. And I also do it for people who are dating and who are trying to figure out who is their partner.
Awesome. Awesome. So tell me a little bit about the origin story of that work, because I just shared my story of how I found out about it and how I was introduced to my relationship. How did you get introduced to attachment theory?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I've been on a healing journey for about 22 years myself. Originally back in, 2002, I started in my own recovery journey, and then that expanded over time where I left my first profession, which we had some fun chats before
Yeah.
our show today that we both were in the entertainment business for many years. And I spent the last 5 years working in true crime television.
Mm.
So for networks, and I was developing TV shows and selling them, going traveling all around the country, selling to networks. And it, even though I was at like the height of this career with this dream job, every person I spoke to who was involved in some kind of crime, the women especially, generally it went back to a relationship gone wrong. And when I traced their whole lives back, I could see that it all started in their childhood.
Mm.
And so when I decided to leave the entertainment business, I thought initially I was going to be a life coach. But I ended up saying, what's the thing that has been the hardest for me in my whole life? And what's the thing that I have moved past more than anything else? And it wasn't success and it wasn't like I had done all that. It was relationships.
Mm.
Relationships had been the hardest thing for me in my life. I had hit the darkest bottom. And basically, as I say, I had reached like the gates of, HE
Yeah.
double hockey sticks. And I came back from it. And I was in the process of coming back when I found attachment theory. And I was in a prior relationship that needed a lot of help. And I was working as a relationship coach. And when I added attachment theory into my coaching and into myself and my relationship, everything changed. And so for me, over these last 8 years, it's been about a deep dive into attachment
Mhm.
and into healing my own insecure attachment patterns that came from my own childhood, helping my own relationship first, and then helping others do the same thing for them and for their relationships. So that's really where this all comes from.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that story. And it's really we share the same kind of origin story, and is that, yo, it changed, it really changed our lives. And I'm telling all my friends, I'm telling some of all my guy friends, like, yo, dude, you need to check this out. It's gonna revolutionize everything. And they go, yeah, right, or whatever. And a couple of them have taken us up on it, and they've looked into it. But it is going to be revolutionary for anybody that's listening. You just heard it from the both of us. It will change your relationship. So look into it. So let's unpack what it is, because some folks may be listening and they go, okay, you're going on and on about it. What the heck is it? So let's talk about that.
Right. So attachment theory has its roots in the 1950s,
Mhm.
right? So there's a psychologist, John Bowlby, who developed it. And basically he said that our relationships today, the patterning of as adults, how we relate, it traces back to our relationships with our caregivers. And then in the 70s, Mary Ainsworth took that idea and she developed an experiment in which she used mothers and babies in a controlled environment to really look at what happens when a baby is removed from their parent for a short period of time. And what she found out was that some of the children were distressed when the parent left. And then when the parent came back, they were distressed, but then easily comforted. They had a secure attachment with that parent. Some of the babies were distressed when the parent left, and when they came back, were inconsolable and they couldn't calm down because their attachment style was more anxious. And then there were other babies that didn't even notice when the parent left. They had more of an avoidant attachment style, and then later they added disorganized. So that's sort of the basis. And so we learn that babies from a very young age are already adapting to the type of relationship they have with their parents. Their behavior is already changing, and that just continues through our whole childhood. And we practice these adaptations throughout our life, and then we show up as adults, and all of a sudden, when our partner is upset, we shut down and withdraw, and we don't know why, but we've been doing that our whole lives. And so once we learn, like, oh, these are things that I learned to keep myself safe when I was young and I didn't know how to console myself because I didn't have any tools. Once we learn that, then we can start shifting those patterns so that we can feel safer and more connected to our partners.
Yeah, that's so powerful, because the once you know what it is, you can then begin to develop the strategies to fix it. And I can tell you from
Right.
our relationship, we've had really great relationship. Has it been perfect? Absolutely not. Like any relationship, we had our struggles. What we noticed after discovering attachment theory is that, as you said, yeah, it's been there all along. Some of the
Mm.
ways in our repeated patterns of things where we just kind of drove each other a little nuts, we realized that it was connected to those things from childhood, and we had some idea of it, but it really began to take shape once we filtered it through attachment theory.
Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that makes me
Yeah.
so excited.
Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of different types. Obviously the
Yeah,
major ones are anxious attachment, avoidant attachment. Can you give us a little overview of the what are the attachment styles that come out of the
right.
theory?
Right. So of course the first one is secure attachment. And that, I believe, is really what we're born with.
Mhm.
And that our nature, our biological nature, is to attach securely. And that in secure attachment, it's easy for us to come in and out of relationship. We can both be with a partner or another person that we care about, and we can be by ourselves. We're pretty pro-social. We trust the world, we trust people, we're able to communicate, we're able to apologize, we forgive easily. And all that was modeled for us, right? That's secure attachment. Now, with anxious attachment, most of us had an experience where the love and the connection sort of came and went. And so we never learned to really trust that love was going to stay.
Mhm.
So as adults with anxious attachment patterns, we become suspicious, needy. It's hard to settle down without a partner telling us it's going to be okay, telling us that they're not going anywhere. We need reassurance and reassurance and reassurance. And it's like the people around us feel like we're like an empty well, like a bucket with a hole in it. No matter what they do, it's not enough. Because for us with anxious attachment, it's like it's, there isn't enough reassurance in the world to make us feel safe. Now, folks with avoidant attachment had a different type of childhood generally. And there, of course, these are all generalizations and there's always other situations, but generally with avoidant attachment, the caregivers really weren't present enough. And so as a child, you were kind of left to figure it out on your own. And caregivers may have been there for your physical needs or your teaching you things, but as far as your emotional support, it was like crickets. And so you turned off that need for connection. That with folks with avoidant attachment, they're just not connected to their needs for intimacy. And so you see people they really avoid closeness. It's hard to know what they need. They don't know what they need. They deprioritize relationships. They value hyper independence. This is where in dating profiles, you'll see people who are, looking for no drama or looking for people who can take care of themselves. But all of these patterns are learned. They're learned behavior. They're ways that we learn to keep ourselves safe, and we can all learn how to show up more securely with the people that are important to us in our lives.
So powerful. And it almost sounds like those are two polar opposites. So you mentioned the anxious, you mentioned the avoidant. Those two seem like they're very opposite one another. And there's a dubious distinction, and there's a lot of buzz from what I've seen and read and watched online around those two in a relationship. Can an avoidant and an anxious attachment thrive in a relationship?
Definitely, definitely. So as far as the research suggests, 50% of the population has secure attachment. I don't totally believe that. I think it's something like 20% has anxious, 30%, 25% have, basically a whole bunch of the rest is either anxious or avoidant. And then disorganized attachment is seen as a small percentage, although I think a lot of us have at least a pocket of it. So mostly what happens is that if secure and secure meet, they tend to get married young and stay married. If you don't grow up with secure attachment, generally you're going to be attracted to the opposite attachment style. So anxious avoidant is like the number one pairing that we see after secure. So yes, there's definitely ways to make that work. You have to understand what your attachment style is, what your partner's attachment style, and then you both I say just like it's no big deal, but just have to be willing to do the work and come towards each other. And sometimes this is easier for someone with a more anxious attachment pattern because they are really the driver, the glue of the relationship. And there are people that have more avoidant attachment who are also willing to work on themselves and do the work and come towards their partner. So if that is in place where both people are willing to learn and grow and change, then it's definitely possible. And I'm sure you see this because you see couples all the time and you see sometimes they're both willing and sometimes one is willing.
Right.
Or none.
Right.
And what do you experience when only one is willing?
Oh, it doesn't work. And one of the things we pride ourselves on is providing an opportunity and an outlet for couples coaching. So you get the male perspective and the female perspective with another couple. So you don't get the one-sided affair type thing, right? But what happens oftentimes, uh, we hit a wall when one of them doesn't want to get any more vulnerable. You touch that one little spot and they go, "Oh no, I'm out. I'm done. I can't do this. I don't want to deal." Right? And it begins to break down. Even with couples, sometimes we'll entertain a partner who's coming solo to work with us to do couples coaching to hear that male and female perspective. And they get so far, it can't work. Your point is spot on, though. It works best when we both work at it. And that's what we remind couples all the time. Learning one another and being a student of your partner's heart is how this thing works. You've got to be open-minded and willing to learn. You use the exact words that we use in our sessions. It's kind of eerie. We have our couples recite this. I have room to learn and grow. In our sessions, we want you to say this throughout because there will be times where you will want to give up and throw in the towel. It is work. It will cost you something. We
Oh,
tell them at the
yeah.
very beginning, you have to say this mantra on a regular basis. I have room to learn and grow. And I'm going to stop you in the middle of
Yes.
sessions. I'm going to have you say that when things get hard. And I sense you're getting fatigued, you want to throw in the towel. I have room to learn and go. Remind yourself of that. So it is true. You have to work at it. And so I'm so glad you brought that point up. All right.
That's beautiful. And I'll just say that I love that you have them say that. That is so important. And I tell couples that you have to become like the GPS of your partner. Like you have to become Google Maps of your
Like
partner.
it.
Like you see like Google Maps, like the car is driving down the street for street view. Those
Yeah.
cars go like 24/7, 365, and they're constantly updating. And that's how you have to be with your partner. You have to constantly be training your brain to have a new experience with them and be willing to change your ideas and your thoughts about them and learn more about them. Or else you're going to
Wow.
go over a cliff because you didn't
Yeah.
update your map program.
It is so true. So true. I will tell you that at 27 years old, when I got married, I'm now 47 years old. I'm a different guy. My wife's a different person now. Had we not had effective communication in our lives, had we not been that woman and that man that geek out on marriage stuff and learning more and being willing to read books, and we would stay up reading books, so I would buy two copies and she'd read one and I read one and we talk about it. We do all that stuff and we remind couples you have to do the work. If you can learn a new skill at work, if you can learn a new skill for your business, for even parenting, you see more people putting more time and money and resources into parenting, but then they do nothing to work at their relationships.
Oh my gosh. You're speaking my language. I had a session just yesterday with this young couple. They're how old you were when you guys got married. And I said to one of them, I said, because this person has a very nice looking muscular build. And I said, how often do you go to the gym? And this person said 3 to 4 times a week. I said, for how long? And they said 2 hours, not always 1 to 2 hours. I said, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say on average, you're going to the gym 6 hours a week. If you spent half of that focused on your partner and focused on what they want to share, what they're feeling, and how to show up for them, everything in your life would change today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything.
Absolutely. For those of you that are really kind of being challenged right now and you're feeling kind of, oh man, that's me. They just put their finger right on my situation. It's okay. This is
Yes.
good. That's why you're here. The fact that you're even
Mm,
listening to this is a step in that direction, in the right direction. You're investing time. It's not just about money, but you're investing time. And that's what we want couples to walk away with is that you have to invest time, money, resources, energy, sweat equity. You've got to put all that into your
totally.
relationship because it is worth it. If you can get better, it's so worth it on the other side of getting better. Getting vulnerable and getting real is hard,
Yeah.
hurtful.
It is worth it. And from an attachment lens, I'll say why I think it's worth it. Because we broke in relationships when we were children. That
Wow.
is what broke us because the relationships in our lives, though they loved us and most of us, they wanted what was best for us, but they couldn't attune to our needs. And so we traded our authentic selves for our attachment with that caregiver. And we came up with ways to cope with that pain. And that can be healed. And when it's healed, you can feel a sense of completion, a sense of safety, a sense of security, a sense of connection to another person, to the universe in a way that you never have. You can feel like the person who you were meant to be. And this connection you have with a partner, this can be the thing that changes everything in your life. It can be the foundation of everywhere you want to go. And it can also be the demise. It can also be the thing that destroys you. And that's why it's so important. It's so
Yeah.
important that we learn how to function securely.
That is so powerful. And one of a lot of good stuff in there. One of the things that really
Mm,
resonated with me and that stuck out is that it was a coping mechanism. A lot of times we have so much visceral and so much angst with our partner, sometimes the one we love the most. because they're this way, they do this thing, they do this thing. That thing is something that is a
Yeah.
crutch that they've
Yes.
an emotional crutch they've used since childhood.
And, it even helps to call it a survival pattern
Mhm.
because it is a coping mechanism, but it's literally a survival pattern. It's the things that we created to survive because we did not have the tools to handle that pain.
Yeah.
We're kangaroos. We come out as joeys. We need to go back into the pouch for
Mhm.
years. Children can't care for themselves, but we have a society that doesn't support that. And, it's not just caregivers too. It's attachment is also built through society. When you grow up as a marginalized person, when you grow up in an area that's dangerous, I mean, these are all things that illness that impact your attachment. And so we can't talk about attachment without talking about patriarchy, without talking about white supremacy, without talking about anti-Semitism, about war. All these things are impacting our abilities to show up today in our relationships.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're
Yeah.
a product of your environment, right? Your journey
Yes.
as a child, even as an adult. You're not, and I always tell our couples, you're not responsible for what happened to you necessarily when you were a child, right? But you are responsible when you become an adult. You are responsible for what you do with that, and
Yeah.
getting help, spending money and time and energy on these resources that can get you better. It's worth every second of it. And I want so desperately for everybody to do that. That's our life's purpose. That's our life's mission to spread that
Same.
story. Now, you mentioned tools. I want to get into that. The attachment
Yeah.
style quiz, they're free. There are free ones out there.
Yeah. Yep. I have a teacher who I love. Her name is Dr. Diane Poole Heller, and she has a website called Trauma Solutions. She has a free attachment quiz that I think is wonderful. I assist on her trainings to teach new practitioners her method of healing attachment, which is a combination of learning about secure attachment and healing the body. Because when we're talking about trauma, we're talking about it resting in the physical body, and it has to be dealt with from that part as well. So definitely go to traumasolutions.com and take that free attachment quiz. And, when you take an attachment quiz, think about one person and think about that one person and how you deal with them in your worst moments. Because a lot of times people say, oh, I'm not avoidant. Look, I have these friends and I show up for them. Well, but how were you in that relationship? Like when you were off, like when you were activated, when you were triggered, what was your go-to? Was it to withdraw? Was it to stonewall? Was it to disappear? Do you push your feelings down? Is it hard for you to feel connected? That's where you want to look for your keys. So they're really helpful to take the quiz and then of course take it, and just know that it changes.
Yeah.
Attachment is on a spectrum
Mm.
and it changes depending on who you're with and what the situation is and how much you've grown.
So how often, because it changes, how often would you say a couple should pull that quiz out again? I remember five love languages. We did it years ago, and we just did it more recently, even with our kids, and some things shifted. So how often should couples in a relationship kind of pull that quiz out over the course of time and seasons?
Yeah, that's a good question. With couples, I always say like what's broken?
Mm.
Where are you both experiencing discomfort and disconnection and issues? Like there are some couples that don't sleep in the bed together and they're fine with it. They're totally happy. So I don't care. I don't care how you sleep. If you're not coming to me telling me it's a problem, great. So if you're having a problem with connection, with communication, with getting your needs met, that's when it's time to take a look at, okay, where am I as far as my attachment adaptations? And do I need to take a look at what's being activated and maybe where this stuff is coming from? So, and then see when you step in, and plus, when you take a good attachment quiz, it's going to give you a variety of styles. You're going to see that you have a percentage of all the styles, even if it's a tiny little percent, usually. there might be one thing you identify from each of the categories, but then you'll have a more predominant one. So use it if it's helpful, is the bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So the pain points and the areas of discomfort you mentioned, those are good indicators where you need to zero in and maybe pull that quiz out, or maybe it's time to take it again and refresh yourself. After they take the quiz, what should couples do? Because that's one part, right?
Right. Just
What's the
knowing,
next
right.
step?
So the knowledge is important, because once you get the knowledge, then you have an opportunity to learn more about yourself. And so I'm a big fan of starting to really see like where these things came from, because generally when there's a problem in your adult life, it has 90, 99, 90% of the time, it's not really about what's happening. It's about the fact that it's activating something that was painful for you in the past that you haven't resolved. Or there's a deeper situation.
Wow.
It's not that you have your phone at the table. It's that I don't feel connected. It's that you're not being present for me. It's that you're not listening to me. And I'm concerned because when I wasn't listened to in the past or in my childhood, it meant danger. Um, so, the first thing is to really know what that attachment style is for you, and then to know where it came from for you, and know what your partner's is as well. So when you learn what their attachment style is and where it came from for them, so like what happened in their childhood, then you start building empathy with each other. And then, just like you mentioned, to start talking about it, talk about what you're learning with attachment and how you relate to it. See where you get stuck, see how your stuckness is related to what you've learned about attachment theory. Then learn what secure does. Like, the first building your own secure attachment can take a lot of time, but learning what secure functioning is, you can read that in a book.
Mhm.
So, doing what you say you're going to do, learning to repair with your partner, learning to forgive if you're anxious, learning to have some of your needs met outside the relationship. If you run more avoidant, learning to step into your partner, knowing what your needs are, and asking for them to be met, building trust. I mean, these are all things you can do on your way to secure attachment that you can start doing now.
Yeah, that's great. And it's almost as if, like, I'm go back to your GPS analogy of a little car moving along, and the destination is secure attachmentville, if you will. Secure attachmentville. I just made that up.
Like
That's
that.
the
I like
destination,
that.
right?
I'm writing that
Write
down.
it down. It's all yours, right? So it's amazing. That's the destination. But in order to get to that destination, you've got to have that little voice or little voices of the couple talking to one another. Because oftentimes we find in our work that couples say this, well, he should know, or she already knows that. Why do I have to tell her again?
Right.
Not
Or
so
I
much.
know why they're upset. Well,
Mm,
I know why she's mad at me. Really? Are
do
you
you?
sure? Did you ask her? I always
Right.
say that. Well, I know that she was mad at me because da, da, da. I said, oh, okay. Did you ask? Well, no. Okay. Do you want to? Well, turn to her. She's sitting right next to you. Turn to
Mhm.
her, ask her, is this why you're mad? And usually it's no, I was mad because of this, or it's a yes, but, or yes, and I was mad because of this. It's so much deeper
Right.
than people realize. And because we never learn to talk, we never learn to communicate. And so we have to learn it now in our 30s, 40s, or 50s. Usually you're lucky if you get someone like to sit with you and teach you this stuff in your 20s, or if you
Right.
had it modeled for you. But most of us, I think, didn't.
Yeah. Because in that little analogy that even in the real world, sometimes roads are under construction. The GPS tells you to go this way, but it changed. The situation changed. And so now you've got to reroute. And so the reroute looks like practically, let me check in with my spouse on a regular basis. Let me have this ongoing scanning of our relationship through conversation, not just about bills, not just about kids, not just about the mechanics of running a household,
Right.
but about the mechanics of running me as an individual, your partner. Here's what's going on inside of me. And let's have that exchange. That's effective communication. That's how we get to our destination of secure, I think is what we're saying, right?
Yes, 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 yes. And then the negotiation too. That's
Mm,
another part of what do you do when you realize, hey, we've got these attachment styles, these insecure attachment styles that where we have this adapted behavior that we're doing. Either we're, sucking the life out of the relationship, or we're leaving it to die on its own. We have to figure out how to come together, right? So I mean, you could literally talk about any topic with this, but just as far as like sharing, I hear that a lot. Like, oh, I just want to sit and talk. I want this person to understand what I'm feeling and thinking. Well, one person wants to do that every night for 2 hours, and the other person wants to do it once a week for 5 minutes. So guess what? You're not getting the once a week for 5 minutes person to sit there for 2 hours every night. So
right.
what can they do to move towards, and what can you do to let go of some of those high needs that you have so that you can move towards them? So it's a dance that you're learning together.
That's so awesome, Rose. And I thank you so much for this conversation. It's impactful. I don't want it to end, but we're gonna have to begin and kind of wrap things up. But before we do that, I want to find out real quick, how can people get in contact with you?
So you can follow me on Instagram. That's at Awakening Relationships. I give a lot out on Instagram. I love to offer some no cost downloads. We have one right now on communication, um, just to help people who are never going to work with me one to one. So follow me on Instagram, or if you download one of those supportive documents, I guess they're called, then you'll end up on my email list potentially. And then you can hear more about what I do, and the different ways you could find me, or maybe interact with something that might be helpful for you.
Yeah. Awesome. So much. I thank you so much. And Rose Viggiano, and she has really dropped a lot of gems for us and really unpacked some things. And this is just the beginning of your journey. Again, secure relationships are the destination. That's the destination. You can get there. You're going to need a little help. People do better once they know how to, right? And so you've got
Mm.
resources now. Those that are watching and listening, you've got resources. We're adamant about helping you improve your communication. We want you to have effective communication and legacy impact coaching. And Rose and her platform, she wants you to have the same thing. And she's got some tools. She's got a different set of lenses. She's got some things to fortify your relationship. And so you've got a village, you've got a community. If you're out there struggling in your relationships, you think you'll never get there, it's not true, because we are testimonies. We have stories and testimonials of people just like us, including us, who have made it, who've made the turn. We've taken some of this new information and we've embraced it and we've benefited from it. And now we're here in these spaces trying to help you do the same thing. So we want you to have hope. We want you to do the work, but we want you to have hope as well. And so your relationship can change. Thank you so much, Rose, for all the work you're doing with especially married couples, but especially those that are dating. I think that is so tremendous. That's your area of focus, because that's important. Once you get who you
Yeah,
got, you kind of got them, right? But you can do some things on the
totally.
other side of the
Yep.
pre-marriage phase.
And that's why I won't give that part up. I've had every marketing expert on the planet tell me to niche down with couples, and I
We
won't
have
do
to.
it because I want people who are dating and who are still looking for that partner to have the tools they need to pick someone who's going to be better for their attachment system. And
Awesome.
so I will always be an advocate for the people who are dating and who are looking to build that long-term secure relationship.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you. So good to be here.
I want to make sure that you share this with your friends and family that you know that could benefit from this. Share our channel, subscribe to our channel. We want you to personalize and hit that bell as well so that you'll get notified when we post content like this. We believe that everybody can benefit from having a good coach and a good therapist in their corner. And so we're going to do our part to continue to create good content like this so that you can live your absolute best life. We believe that it's important to improve your communication, your connection, and your affection. And we're here to help you do just that. Thanks for stopping by the channel.